Alright guys, a 2-for-1 special on Jason's knives from EcosKnives. Today I've got two or three kind of really fun knives that people have some mixed opinions about, and that's Karambits. Karambits, in case you don't know what they are an Indonesian style knife that were basically their everyday carry knives for the most part. They would use them from everything from household chores, utilities, that kind of thing, to fighting. They had bigger Karambits for war, smaller Karambits for everyday, and kind of essentially like their pocket knives of the day. The Karambits that I have to show you, you've seen one already. It's not really Karambit by definition, but you've seen this Talon style knife, and it has like that Karambit type shape. I'm a big fan of the hawkbill type shape, the Karambit shape, and I'll get into why that is in a minute. But these are the two knives I want to show you in particular. We have one war size Karambit and one EDC size Karambit. Both of these are from Jason, as I said, EcosKnives.com, and he does an amazing job on his knives, and these two are no exception at all. I bought this one a long time ago from him, and I really like it, but I want to get this one out of the way first, and I say that because it's not my favorite. I got this with the thinking that it was going to be a mid-size Karambit. There was a picture of Jason's hand holding it, and he held it and his hand almost took up the whole thing. So I was thinking, oh, well, I could do that, forgetting of course that I have really small hands. So yeah, when I hold this knife, there's a good like inch and a quarter left at least of the handle sticking out from my hand. Now this anyway is like a war size Karambit. You can see that when I hold it straight out like this, you get quite a bit of reach from that. We don't have a full flat grind all the way on this knife. It stops about here. Can't really see that, can you? About right there, just before the cool little, spiky things come out. And I mean, as far as like looking badass, this knife does it. We have green paracord wrapped over frog skin finished leather. It basically looks like frog skin. It's kind of cool. The finish on this is one of those acid etched finishes again, as is this one. This one I think he calls acid rain, though. It basically looks like it just kept on dripping all over the place, and it's really neat. The ring here is about an inch, maybe slightly more than an inch, and it accommodates your hand really well. The 1/4 inch thick, it's very comfortable to hold. However, that is extremely big to be carrying around or anything. So this knife is basically in my collection. I don't carry it much. I flip it around every so often just for like fun, and that's about it. But I assure you, if there are, if there's a takeover of the US or something, I'll be taking this thing into battle, I'm sure. It's awesome. It's razor sharp, as all of his knives come, and as they should. But all his knives, as soon as you get them, can shave, the hair off your arm, the hair off your face. It's really nice the way he sends them to you. But I actually fill up this handle without the ring. So if that gives you an idea of how big this handle is, how big this knife is overall, and this kind of gives you a nice little place to rest your thumb. I mean, this is kind of nice just for aesthetics. Yes, it's very cool looking, but I mean, those little tiny points when they hit, they hurt. So awesome knife. Again, it just comes with his ABS sheaths, Kydex type thing. All of his sheaths are 1 inch spaced from the center of the holes, perfect for a mini tack lock too. Now this one I do carry, and this is my favorite Karambit ever. And it's kind of nice because it's one of a kind, as all of his are. This one is a Kydex sheath. Same deal here with the tech lock capabilities. But this knife just pops out so easily, and it's nice and thin, I mean, with the cord wrapping on this one, it is just incredibly thin. This one is 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's half the size of this one. And I mean, you can tell in your hand, it's just beautiful. This thing just moves so well. Getting into karambits in general, why I like them and why I like the hawkbill style blade, as you've seen from a bunch of my videos with the hawkbill, is that they have so many capabilities. Aside from like survival in the woods kind of a thing, you'll get so many more capabilities out of this type of knife than you will from most other designs. First of all, cutting capabilities with a karambit. As long as the edge geometry is good, which this one is full flat ground from this point on, which is primarily the area you're going to be using, and it's almost full flat grind from, you know, for the whole thing, you get an amazing amount of cutting power from all of this. The whole idea here is that if we have a regular shaped knife, let's just call that regular, like a Persian type style, I guess. When we cut something, you know, you're going the whole distance of it like this, and you really won't get much past that point, no matter how much you arc or anything like that. However, with a karambit style knife or a hawkbill, when we cut, that blade doesn't want to stop going into the target. As long as you move it, it'll just keep passing through. It may rip through, but it just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper into the target that you're cutting. Secondly, why else do I like this style? As far as rescue, a karambit is actually very, very good in that circumstance. We have an exposed metal portion of the knife that, when sheathed, you know, you can use that to knock out a window or something. If you are really, really careful and, you know, go more towards like the front of the window or whatever the situation may be, you know, you can actually hit that part out as well. With this style of blade, this one's a little bit wide for the purposes that we're talking about, but as far as getting into, like, in between the seatbelt and person, you know, you're not talking about anything safer than something that curves over like this. Of course, you do have a razor sharp tip at the end here, so of course you need to be careful, but much less so than if you're talking about, like, I'm just trying to see what I have on me today, than if you're talking about like a dagger. You know, we have much more safety with this than with this, especially if you're talking about any sort of Persian upswept blade. Trying to get in there with, you know, that kind of thing is just very, very difficult to do without hurting someone. So that being the point of being able to get in there. Plus, once you're in behind a seatbelt or something, if you just pull back, it gathers everything and just rips right through it. So that way it's very, very good. Getting into this knife in particular, as I said before, it's 1/8 of an inch thick. And this one, however, is a perfect size for my little hands. Jason puts out quite a few karambits in his lineup. They're all typically like, I got these ones for less, but they're typically like $100, maybe slightly more, because they are very difficult to produce for him. Sorry about that. The hole on this one, again, is about 1 inch, and my whole hand fits right on it perfectly. How thin this blade is, as well as the grind, gives us amazing cutting powers, cutting capabilities, I should say. The back of this is slightly beveled, so if you need to do some sort of backwards hit, it'll still hurt quite a bit. It'll still break things. You know, you won't be left in the dust with this kind of thing. The downside to karambits as fighting knives that people tend to see is the fact that you can't really defend very well with them. When you're talking about a knife style this size, basically, I mean, you bring this one out again, you know, you're talking about something that you're not really trying to block with you're definitely not going knife on knife blocking like this kind of thing with a knife of that size. It's just not going to happen. Not in that kind of speed, not in that kind of fury, if you will. But what we do find here is that if we find any sort of attacks coming in towards us, that this, just like any other, will deflect and hit an arm, you know, a hand, whatever, just as well as any other knife, which is what we're looking for in this size knife. So basically, I mean, you know, and we also have like a slightly weaker, but if you train in it, you'll get it, extended grip that we can maneuver in this as well, which gives you more capabilities than a usual regular fighter anyways. But this knife, just the balance on it is really, really nice. The handle contours beautifully. Just like a lot of his knives, the wrapping on it is just a simple nylon wrap that he does with the kind of a triangular cross section, because this is the thinner portion right here, or excuse me, the thicker portion right here. So as you hold it, your hand just kind of, it bites into it. And like he does with all of his wrapped handles, is he dips them in a resin, which keeps them from ever unwrapping, and kind of protects them from the elements as well. The backside here, if I'm holding this knife like this, in a forward grip like this, it's a perfect place to rest my thumb. The choil here is ideal. You know, I'm never going to move forward. And a lot of his knives have the same sort of characteristics as this one. This one again has his acid etched pattern, which is really, really cool. It'll never come off. I've put this knife already through so much cardboard cutting, wood slicing, all kinds of stuff, just even testing it out, and it looks the same, and it has the same sharpness as it always has, and that's awesome. Best way to sharpen a karambit, people sometimes ask, you know, like with that curved blade, how do you sharpen that? Best ways to do it, if the corner of your sharpening stone is not jagged from you beating on it or anything, you can actually use that, just kind of slide it along the corner and bring it past like this. Or after you use it, just, you've carried it for the day, you used it a little bit, just take your kitchen steel and just carefully just go, you know, along the edge, really just like you would, you know, very carefully with a kitchen knife type of thing. But having a small diameter rounded sharpening tool or honing tool is what really will get you a perfect edge on this every time. I mean, the style of a karambit is just, it's natural. You look at a cat, a dog, pretty much any land predator that you can find, an eagle, a bird type thing, you know, the bill, hawk bill, hence, as well as the talons on a bird, all have this sort of design. So, I mean, it's a proven design overall, which is really, really cool. And now we can attach it to our hands through a karambit and make it as lethal as they have. So that's the philosophy of a karambit is also very, very awesome. But if you guys have any questions about Jason, his knives, whatever, leave me a comment either here or in my page. I'll get back to you as soon as I can on that. If you guys have any questions for me, just the same. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.